You'll get caught. Her voice scared me. I was sitting at the bar drinking, doing my usual Friday night prep with the girls. There were 5 of us that night. There was also a 6th, but she had already found who she was looking for even before we arrived at the club, a tall blonde stallion who exuded beautiful attractiveness. We all knew we wouldn't see her until Monday morning at the office. Turning slightly to the left, I saw an attractive and well-dressed elderly woman. The word elegant immediately came to mind. Her black dress was beautiful, but not cloying. Her jewelry expensive, but not pretentious. The woman's blonde hair was styled to match her face and age, an attractive elven haircut that made her look younger. However, it was difficult for me to determine her age. It didn't look like she was doing anything to herself, but the laugh lines on her face were one of the few signs of a life she'd lived. I hoped that at her age I would look at least half as good, and with a high degree of probability assumed that she was somewhere around 50. What I couldn't figure out was what the hell she wanted from me. Excuse me? I didn't try to hide the irritation in my voice. I said, "You'll get caught. I've been watching your friends since they walked in the door. Getting ready for the big night?" "Yes, I am." "Wait, what? Have you been watching us? And why? And who are you anyway?" She chuckled. "My name is Amanda, and you know exactly what I mean. Are you and your friends going to go to a club? Probably. And here you're all to have a little drink first for courage. I'm right so far, huh? What's your name, dear?" "Aaron." "And yes, what are you supposed to be, some kind of psychic?" Amanda laughed, a pleasant if slightly arrogant laugh. "No, not at all. Just someone who has already been in your place, or something like that." The bartender put my drink in front of me. I tipped him handsomely, as I usually did on such evenings. He had to put up with women like my girlfriends all night, and he deserved it. I looked at Amanda as I took a sip. Although I was already inclined to go back to my friends, it was one of the most interesting conversations I've had lately. It was much more interesting than listening to Darlene and Cindy trying to outdo each other. "Oh, and where is it?" She smiled, but it was more predatory than friendly. "You're planning to cheat on your husband." I hissed. "No, that's it. How dare you? I love my husband." The smile became a little sadder, and the tone became soothing. "I'm not judging you, Aaron. I'm trying to help. And I didn't say that you don't love your husband. I believe you. I loved it too. But she cheated on him anyway. Well, I'm not going to cheat on mine. Fuck you. You don't even know me. You don't know any of us." I started to move, but Amanda put her hand on my wrist. However, she did not grab me, but only lightly touched me. "Please, stop. Just listen to me." When your group arrived, there were 6 of you. One, with a ring, had already left with a guy to the shouts and applause of the rest of your group. 2 of the remaining girls, including you, also wear rings. 3 are not. If you guess, then one of them is married and just took off the ring, and 1 or 2 others are divorced. I stopped where I was. "You, who are you? A detective? Are you following us? Who the hell is it?" "No, I'm just a woman," as I said, "who is where you are now. I used to have friends like that, and over the years I've seen bands like yours dozens of times. Maybe you haven't changed it yet. In fact, I'd bet that it's not there yet. There is." She waved her free hand. "Hints. The way you keep looking at your ring. The look on your face when your married friends talk. From how violently they communicate, I assume that it's about how they plan to sleep together, or that hubby will never find out about it." I turned away, feeling awkward. As I said, "Dear, I'm not judging." "Not really." Without turning around, I asked, "Not really? What does it mean?" "Everyone changes for some reason. Some of them are good and some are bad, but at the moment it can be difficult to figure out which one is which." She moved slightly so that she was completely in my field of vision. "I'm trying to help you, Aaron." Snorting, I asked, "How exactly can I help? Tell me not to cheat." "Darlene is talking." "Your married friend? A lecherous cheater?" "Yes. She says it didn't hurt her marriage at all. What he doesn't know won't hurt him." And I was interrupted by Amanda's loud, condescending laugh. "Oh no, my dear. This is certainly the case. But I guarantee you that her husband will find out about it. Your divorced friend. What's her name? You found out, didn't you?" "Cindy." I said it softly, but then I caught myself. "But she knows exactly how she screwed up. She says that she knows what she did wrong, and she can make sure none of you get caught. And anyway, everything ended well for her, right?" I stared at her in silence. Like I said, Aaron, I've seen a lot of bands like yours. And although I haven't always seen the consequences, I know that what they do and what they intend to force you to do will end up with one of your group being caught, and then it will end up with you all being caught. 3 can keep a secret if 2 are dead, and there are 6 of you. And that's not counting the fact that one of them hopes that you will fall so that your husband will fall with you, and then she can pick him up again. Or maybe he's already cheating on you, and this is revenge? I growl. Stan is not like that, she asked in a calm voice. And you? I don't. Her hand gently squeezed my wrist. People cheat for different reasons, Aaron. Out of boredom, or anger, or revenge, or misfortune. Because they want to leave. Because they want to be caught. Because they think they need a thrill. And why are you planning? I'm not going to. I am. Amanda shook her head. After how long do you have to go with your friends to dancing, I suppose? Well, maybe in an hour? And have you already cheated on your husband? I looked down at my feet. I don't. I danced a little too close when I got drunk. All one of them kissed me. I was groped, but I stopped him. But no more than that. Her finger touched my chin and lifted it up. But you were going to tonight? Maybe. It's all. Darlene and Cindy talk about it so innocuously, as if it's just another one. It's like it has nothing to do with him and me, like going to the spa or the gym. Only he won't understand it because of his ego. What if? Amanda finished the sentence with a sigh. If he really loves you, he'll let you do it. Shaking her head, she said. Idiots. Hey, not you, Aaron. Well, maybe. But at least you're not as stupid as they are. You haven't done anything irreversible yet. There's still time for you. Laughing, I said, Oh, so a repentant cheater is trying to keep me from breaking my oath? You broke yours, and it ruined your marriage. So now you're helping young women not fall like you? The grin on Amanda's face seemed almost demonic in its glee. Oh no, absolutely not. I mean, maybe, but I cheated on my husband hundreds of times in 23 years of marriage. I would probably still be cheating on him if my beloved Donald hadn't passed away. And not once have I been caught. And that's how I'm going to help you, Aaron. If you want to cheat, I'll teach you everything I can. And if you follow in my footsteps, you'll never get caught, unless it's because of exceptional bad luck. What? Amanda picked up her purse from the stool next to her. There's a late night diner across the street. I want to have a coffee and maybe a light snack. If you join me, after you tell your friends that you'll be back in about an hour, I'll tell you my story. From it, you will learn everything you need to successfully conduct as many novels as you want. Are you serious? Oh, quite. A magician never reveals his tricks, but maybe it's time for me to take an apprentice. She saw that I was still hesitating. Listen, I'm not asking you to get in the car with me. We'll go to a public place, have coffee, eat French fries, which I'll pay for, and talk. Then, when we're done, you can do whatever you want with what you learn. At worst, you can tell your friends about the crazy woman you met tonight. She said the last with a self-deprecating grin. I am. Amanda turned to leave. I'm going there anyway. It's so early in the morning, and your friend left with the only guy I had my eye on. If you come, great. If not, well, I guess I'll have to spend a little more time climbing the stairs because I'm definitely going to finish this basket of potatoes. And with that, she left. What the hell just happened? On the one hand, she's right. Everything the girls did was risky. Even I can understand that. I guess it takes someone who really knows what they're doing to make me listen to what I've already told myself. I wasn't even sure what I wanted to change. My behavior in the last couple of weeks suggests otherwise. I really love Stan very much. My growing desire to make love to other guys doesn't change that, at least for me. After all, I'm sure he fantasizes about other women, and I didn't go beyond fantasies either. Anyway, that's what Darlene, Cindy, and others told me, although deep down I knew I'd be mad as hell if I caught Stan doing the same thing to another woman that I was doing. But if I decided to pull the trigger, why wouldn't I want to become a good specialist? If Amanda is telling the truth, and she's been getting away with it for 2 decades and hundreds of guys, and her husband didn't know about it, why wouldn't I want to hear what she has to say? And if she was lying, then, as she said, it would make a funny story later. I told the girls that I wanted to get some fresh air before we hit the road, and that I would be back soon. They were already in a state of intoxication, so Darlene just shouted, "Better come back before we leave without you, and take all the best." Then they returned to the group game of getting married, this time about the guys in the office. Yes, I definitely need to find out a different point of view before one of these idiots lets me down for dismissal, as well as for divorce. The diner was one of those places where only diner was written above the entrance in large neon letters without a name. It could have been built at any time, starting in the 40s, and its furnishings reflected this. There was a strange, timeless atmosphere about her. Everything, tables, chairs, bar counter, and so on, seemed cheap, but it was damn durable. After the night dances, the girls and I found ourselves here more than once. Those who did not sleep together, that is. The food wasn't much, but it was cheap, greasy, and plentiful. When I entered, Amanda was looking into the distance, hugging her mug. When I approached the table, she looked up from her reverie and smiled broadly. "Hello. I didn't know if you were coming or not. I'm glad you came." I sat down on a chair in the booth opposite her. Maybe I should examine my head, but I think it should be more interesting than listening to Darlene and the girls wind themselves up for the rest of the evening. She laughed. "I don't think this is a very high bar." I shrugged my shoulders. "And that's true. But if you can tell me what you say, you can." The older woman nodded, perhaps with some longing. "I can. But I'm sorry. Could you tell me about yourself first? Not the whole story of your life, but what you do for a living, how long have you been married, and the like. I want to be sure that what I can tell you, well, I think it's all interesting, but I want to be sure that it will be useful for you too. I don't want to waste your time or mine." "Okay. I'm 27. My husband and I met at the end of junior college. I majored in history, but then decided I didn't want to teach, so now I'm an administrative assistant. Stan and I started dating exclusively at the beginning of our senior year. We've been married for a little over 5 years now. Is this marriage happy? In general, I mean?" I nodded slowly. Yes. Yes, I would say yes. I have no complaints. He makes me happy for the most part. I mean, I wish he'd put his socks away instead of throwing them on the bed at night. And he'd like me to stop watching so many reality shows." Amanda giggled. "Fair enough. And what about the bed life?" I felt myself blushing slightly. She's good." "Is she good?" She raised an eyebrow. "Yes. Most of the time, it is excellent, although not as good as at first. You know how it is? At first, it is an impulse. Now we're kind of getting used to married life. We're talking about children. But he's still—" I giggled. "He's still more than up to the job. And he tells me that I'm the best he's ever had, which is very nice." "Really? And he's the best you've ever had, I think." "Ah, something like that. Now, yes. Or I think even 2 or 3 years ago, he was the best. I had more experience than him, and I had to teach him what I liked, but he learned it well. When I got to this point, yes. But as I said, things have gotten a little bit better lately." "Stale." That damn raised eyebrow again. "This? No, I wouldn't go that far." I searched for the right word for a minute. Then I found it. "It's probably convenient. I love him, and it's still good, but I can't remember the last time we did something new in bed." Amanda nodded sagely. "Okay, so why are you thinking about cheating on Stan?" Fortunately, before I could answer, the waitress brought French fries and poured me a cup of coffee. I took this time to think about how to formulate my answer. I didn't come here to be fried by her, but so that she would tell me everything. "No. So, yes, I'm exposing myself to temptation. But never. I don't want to cheat on him." Fried potatoes went into my mouth, followed hastily by water when I realized that it was too hot. "How is it in single life?" She took a sip of coffee, leaving a pale lipstick outline on the rim of the cup. "Eh." I fanned my mouth with my palm. "Yes, oh. Is it about being free, I suppose? And desirable? Not that I wanted to cheat on Stan, but when we started talking about kids, buying a house, and—" I sighed. "I'm just wondering if I got married too soon. Shouldn't I have played in the field longer? To see if there is someone better there? No." I deftly dragged the next potato through the ketchup, and this time let it cool down. "No, I love him. I really do. He's such a good guy, and I want to spend the rest of my life with him. And I sure as hell don't want to hurt him. But, I don't know, I just feel that—" I chewed on ketchup-soaked potatoes, thinking. Amanda looked at me expectantly until I finished. "I wish there was some way to put an end to my marriage and get back to it, you know? Don't hurt Stan, and don't. If I could do it without cheating, it would be perfect. That's exactly what I've been doing, at least a little bit." But I shrugged my shoulders. Her gaze cut through all my nonsense. But the temptation to change is getting stronger, especially considering the company you're in. Yes. I hate to say it, but yes. I don't want to, but I know. I know I'm still desirable. There are a lot of opportunities at the club to go further with the guys, but I didn't do it. My gaze shifted to my hands, and I like this feeling that I'm wanted, so I'm coming back, but I'm worried that in the end, being desired won't be enough. She smiled sweetly and put her hand on mine. I understand. Believe me, I understand everything. And I think I can help you. I looked up again. Change it? I don't know. Amanda patted my hand and put hers away again, leaning back in her booth. Not necessarily. I'll tell you my story. I'll tell you why I did it and how I got away with it. And if you need more details, I'll stay here and talk to you as much as you want. It's so rare for me to tell someone my secrets, and you seem like the perfect candidate. She laughed when she saw the look on my face. I'm not saying that you will change, or that you have the mark of the beast on you, or whatever you're afraid of. She took a bite of French fries and talked to it in her mouth. How the hell does she manage to talk with her mouth full so elegantly? You're young, beautiful, and smart enough to realize that what you're doing right now isn't working. By that, I mean what's going on in your marriage and in your friendship with Darlene, right? And Cindy? I nodded. You have a longing that you cannot define, and it leads you in the direction where you may or may not want to go. Amanda sighed a little sadly. To be honest, you don't have children, and your marriage doesn't last that long. You have more opportunities to change course than you think. I don't want to sound gloomy, but getting out of marriage is an opportunity that, well, I didn't have the courage to do that. One more bite and a brighter frame of mind. But let's not worry about that for now. Do you still want to hear my story? I nodded. It doesn't hurt to listen, right? Yes. Yes, I do. The elderly woman gave me a radiant smile. I had no doubt that a story was waiting for me. Then I'll start from the beginning. Well, maybe a little later. You shouldn't hear about my early days except that my home life was the usual one. Average in almost all respects. Middle class, middle America, average happiness. If my parents could have 2.5 children, they probably would have done so. But I was not an ordinary girl. I grew up from a stupid, big-headed child into a clumsy, ugly duckling. Although she's always been smart, even too smart for my own good. I was a well-read and sharp-tongued little girl. Then, in my senior year, I changed. The ugly duckling has turned into a swan. And it's not just about looks, although puberty has finally given me generous gifts. No, it was my intellect that allowed me to really flourish. An expensive gift is just a nice thing without proper packaging. But properly packaged, presented only with tantalizing and alluring reflections hinting at what is inside, that's where the desire comes in. Think about it. At Christmas, a child opens his presents, plays with toys for a few hours, maybe a day or two, and then puts them aside. And for a month, while they are lying under the tree, how often do they shake them, poke at them with their finger, try to guess by size, shape, and weight what lies inside? A month of delicious anticipation, followed by several hours of ecstatic pleasure. Which of these is more interesting if you look back? I nodded again, although I must admit I was a little disappointed so far. So you figured out how to present yourself? You became beautiful, and then you studied makeup and fashion, right? She laughed. I know it doesn't sound great, but you have to understand. Let me ask you, have you always been that gorgeous young woman sitting across from me now? I blushed. I don't know if I would have gone that far, but I did. I've never been ugly. I must have had a bit of an awkward period. But you don't know what it's like to be unnoticeable or even repulsive to your peers, and then suddenly become an object of desire for one half and contempt for the other. Oh no, not really. Amanda popped a fried potato into her mouth, apparently enjoying the taste as much as the story. But I did. And then I found my first and longest love, to be desired. For me, this is what it has always been, this urge to be desired. I took a sip of water. Okay, yes, I understand that. But it doesn't explain. Hold your horses, apprentice. I'm just setting up a scene. She giggled. I create a wish if you want. So I started dating in my senior year, lost my virginity at prom, after half a dozen of the most attractive guys in school invited me to it, and then went to college. It was there that I first tried to be monogamous and failed. Amanda sighed. the energy that had animated her seeming to dissipate as her breath left her lips. Then I offended some good young people, and she ruined her reputation. There was one boy who, as I know, loved me very much, and I loved him too. I really loved it. She sipped her Coke, seemingly lost in thought. It was the first time I saw her showman mask slip off that night. The love of my life was my husband, but I think Jeremy could have become one if I hadn't treated him so cruelly. I don't even... The elderly woman smiled bitterly. I wasn't good at cheating back then. More precisely, she was very bad. Jeremy didn't catch me, and he didn't need to. He just needed to not be completely blind, and he wasn't. Why did you cheat on him? Amanda was looking at the table. That's the question, isn't it? Why did I cheat on him and my husband and all the other wonderful men in between? When she looked up at me again, there was pain behind her eyes and a tight smile on her lips. Amanda sighed. I'm getting ahead of myself. Taking a deep breath, she continued. Addiction is that you don't want to believe that it's an addiction. No one wants to. It doesn't matter if it's drinking, eating, or gambling. The excuses are different, but they are cousins of each other. The excuse of just one drink is very close to I just danced with him. And then, when a disaster happens, we resort to rationalization. I had a hard day, so I drank a bottle of vodka. It's my birthday, and I can eat as much cake as I want. Amanda's face twisted into a grimace. Our relationship should have ended by now. It's just that I haven't told him about it yet. All the ways to justify excesses that we don't want to recognize as excesses. She smiled radiantly as she returned to the center of the stage. I didn't know then that it was an addiction. She thought I was just a cheater. I was torn between deliberate loneliness and confidence, absolute certainty that this time everything would be different, that this time I had found the perfect guy for myself, and what had happened before was the stupid shit of a college student. Eventually, I stopped pretending and decided that I was spoiled from the start, although I hadn't realized it was an addiction yet, and decided that I would stay single. This continued until I turned 28. Amanda's smile was not in any way ostentatious at the time. She was blissful, loving. Her eyes seemed to sparkle as she spoke. Then I met Donald. I worked as a sales representative for a pharmaceutical company, and I'm still working, for that matter. He was a doctor. God, this man was amazing. It wasn't even how handsome he was, and he was just gorgeous. It was just him, his presence, the kindness in his voice, the way he carried himself, the way he could be easily and simply smart, and then turn around and tell the stupidest joke. He was probably the best lover in my life, and almost from the very beginning. I was blown away in a way that even poor Jeremy had never been. I fell in love with him so easily. That's why I've been pushing him away for so long. But he chased me, and eventually chased me down. But he didn't stop pursuing me. Looking back, I think that's why I was able to convince myself that everything would be fine this time, that everything would work out with him. No man before or after has ever pursued me like Donald, and it didn't stop even after we became permanent, got engaged, or got married. For the first time in my life, I didn't feel the need to be pursued by someone else. But you cheated on him. But yes, I cheated on him. She raised her glass, and the waitress came over to fill it. However, only a few years after the wedding, he stopped hitting on me the way he used to. I don't blame him. It's impossible to maintain such intensity forever. And I love him very much. I try to hold on as long as possible. But I felt this little itch right in the back of my head, and I couldn't scratch it. He kissed me, invited me to dinner or to a dance, and it was like, after a person gets off methadone, if he does not make other serious changes in his life, the likelihood of relapse is quite high. Some people stay on it for the rest of their lives, changing one addiction to another. Even celebrities with all their resources do it. I raise my hand. I'm sorry, but what are you getting at? I thought it was about... Amanda made a yes, I get it movement. It's about how I cheated without getting away with it. But first you have to understand why I did it. It will give you information about how I did it. Do you understand? The blank expression on my face showed that I didn't really understand. She sighed. You'll understand. So, methadone. Donald's caresses, after we got married a couple of years ago, were like methadone to me. They were enough to keep me clean, but not nearly as much as I wanted. They scratched the itch but did not get rid of it. And they were God, in some ways, they were much worse. Another deep breath. It had been a little less than 3 years of our marriage when I cheated on him for the first time. I was at a bar in another city, visiting an old friend, and suddenly she was wanted by strangers again, free, and she shook her head, and it was like giving a recovered alcoholic a bottle of vodka. I danced, flirted, knowing it was a bad idea. One guy wanted me very much, just very much. I could almost smell the scent coming from him. I let him take care of me, knowing how dangerous it was, knowing how it could end, and hating myself for it. He groped me on the dance floor, and I let him do it. We found a dark corner, and he stuck his tongue down my throat. And then I went to the bathroom and bought a cheap pack of condoms from the vending machine. We sneaked through the back door of the club to his apartment, and he took me in almost every way a man can take a woman. The only condition I set, the only concession of loyalty to my husband, was that we should have been separated by rubber. A few hours later, I stumbled back to my hotel room, exhausted, tired, euphoric, and she frowned and sighed, and feeling worse than ever, worse than ever. Without taking off my dress, I got into the shower and cried under the jets of water for probably an hour, wishing I was dead, wanting to die before Donald meets me. Amanda sat in silence for a while, staring in her cup as if she could find the answers there. Without looking up, she continued her story. I thought about telling him everything, but I knew my husband. It would have killed him. He loved me very much, despite the fact that I told him about my past. I didn't understand it then, the depth of your need. I still thought that in my youth, I was just a bastard and that I had finally found a man who would make an honest woman out of me. A good woman. A sad smile. And he did. Actually, I did. Just not good enough. She looked up at me. I drowned Donald in affection when I returned. However, I always did this because I loved him very much. It was easier that way. He didn't suspect anything, and I did my best not to feel guilty in front of him. After that, I kept my word of honor for a while. It lasted for several months, but the itch returned. In the end, I had to leave for work, and Amanda shrugged. It was nice to believe that I could be a good person, at least for a while, that I just made a mistake. It went on like this for almost the rest of my life. I traveled a lot for work, so when I got itchy, I found someone to sleep with. Never with the same person twice. Indeed, even in the same bar twice, if it could be avoided, I always used protective equipment and took all possible precautions not to get caught. And I've never been caught. Never? I couldn't hide the doubt in my voice. I admit, it wasn't easy a few times. In the beginning, I made the mistake of contacting a jerk who tried to use me when I was talking to my husband. I hung up, kicked him out, and then calling Donald back, said that the phone at the hotel had a bad connection. I never liked it when people said nasty things about him, but since then, guys who disrespected him have been taboo to me. She giggled at the look on my face. More than just disrespect. Well, it's always disrespectful. I accept that. I know he deserves a better wife. I just couldn't give it up. Amanda looked out the window. You keep saying you're addicted. Although, to be honest, it is. I could hardly find words that wouldn't make her angry. Does that sound like a lot of shit? Yes, I know. And when it comes to something like this, it often is. When I was trying to improve, in between infidelities, I went to a group to combat bed addiction. It's like Alcoholics Anonymous, just four. She waved her hand. And although I found that I didn't quite fit the criteria, I also found that there were a lot of those who, let's just say they went there because someone caught them making love to someone they shouldn't have, and bed addiction was an effective evasion for them. Oh, honey, I know I used your sister, but I found out that I have a bed addiction. The goats. But I know that I really have an addiction or compulsion, and I can prove it. In the meantime, let me tell you the rest of my story. She took another bite of fried potatoes, then frowned and pushed the basket towards me. It's time for me to stop. A sudden laugh escaped her lips. Amanda leaned forward. Well, I was almost caught once. And then there was the time. She swallowed. And then there was a case when some bastard raped me. Oh my God. The older woman shrugged her shoulders. It was terrible. And I'm not excusing this guy. If I saw him today, I'd shoot the bastard. Because of him, I got a license to carry concealed weapons. But I went to bars, invited strange men to my room. In the end, I came across someone who didn't want to agree with it. I reached out to touch her hand. She smiled, then waved me away. It was a long time ago, even before the children, more than 20 years ago. I remember being very upset at the time that I would have to hide all the evidence from Donald and keep him at a distance until I passed the test. How disgusting it is. But my husband, I had thrush until my period came, and by that time I had enough time to check for almost everything. He didn't even blink an eye. He just wanted to make sure I was okay. There was a small chance that I had contracted one of the diseases with a longer incubation period, but they are not transmitted until they manifest in an active form. But we dodged a bullet. I dodged a bullet. Suddenly a thought came to mind. Did you say that you have children? Is there no chance? No. Amanda's voice sounded louder than she probably wanted, and several people looked in our direction. She lowered her voice again. No, there's no chance. When we decided to have children, I refueled during the trip just before we wanted to start, and on my return, I stopped taking pills. Thank God Donald was so damn brave, and it only took us a month each time. She bit her lip. Still, I was worried. I knew that by all accounts, the children, when they were born and all that, should be from Donald. But I was paranoid about it. I would definitely admit it if one of them wasn't from him. I couldn't do anything else with him. Therefore, she organized testing of all of us as part of the work-related genetic testing program, which in fact had nothing to do with work. Fortunately, the paranoia turned out to be just paranoia, and everything turned out to be fine. Did you cheat during pregnancy? No. The word was pronounced with a touch of artificial amusement. At that time, Donald was very protective of me, so it was easier. Not easy, but easier. She grinned. I think Donald had a pregnancy fetish because he used me to the point of unconsciousness whenever he could. Her dreamy, detached smile was clearly caused by pleasant memories. It was such good times when I was pregnant, and then when the children were very young. I don't know why, but there's something about children. Maybe it was overwork, or maybe they just needed me all the time, but it was an even stronger substitute than Donald's love. For a while after my eldest was born, I thought that, I don't know, that maybe having something more than myself or my marriage will finally fix me. That this is finally something that will make me a decent person. Amanda stared into her half-empty cup for a while. When she spoke again, her voice cracked slightly. She looked up at me, her increasingly insincere smile no longer hiding her pain. As soon as my son went to kindergarten, I felt that the itch began to return. And, although it passed again after the birth of her daughter, that was the end of it. I have been a faithful wife for 6 years out of 23 years of marriage. And the rest of the time, She shook her head. Did you say you were trying to stop? She nodded, taking a deep breath and trying to pull the mask tighter over her face. Yes, I've tried a bunch of ways. Therapy, of course. Religion. Athletics. God, I was so wrong. Have you seen how physical education students look at even a moderately attractive woman? I even tried to get fat, hoping that if I became less desirable, they would run after me less. I thought maybe it was a problem of supply, not demand, but it didn't turn out that way. It's just that less interesting men were running after me now, and I was unsatisfied in another way. I snorted, but I couldn't help myself. This bit of fun seemed to lift her spirits. In short, 10 years after the marriage, I decided something for myself. Firstly, it is an addiction, even if there is no corresponding point in a mental disorder. This applies to many disorders for various reasons. Secondly, I can't control her, or at least I can't find a way to control her. And thirdly, I need to find a way to stop him from ruining my life. I started reading a lot about harm reduction as a strategy. That is, not to try to give up banned substances, but to limit the influence of addiction. She managed to cope with her addictions, and the only reason she was caught was a random raid on illegal substances when she was meeting with her dealer. She grinned. You had one. Well, I don't know, did you plan any ending? For example, what if you stay the same when you retire and can't drive as much? Not really. I just kept dancing and hoped the music would never end. I had a distant hope that menopause might change my brain chemistry enough to fix me, but it didn't happen. That's what addiction is, after all. It's just a matter of brain chemistry. There is a reason why, for almost all addictions, smoking, alcohol, whatever, the number of successful quitters is about 5%. It's not that people don't want to quit, but that they can't. She raised an eyebrow at my incredulous look. Don't you believe it? No, it's not that. Amanda nodded towards someone at the other end of the diner and said softly, "That guy over there, he probably weighs 180 kilograms, maybe 230. Do you think he wants this? Or what? He doesn't know how to lose weight. I guarantee that he knows more about dieting than you or I will ever know. And he's eating a piece of pie, which I doubt he even likes. He's sitting alone in a diner, eating things he doesn't even want to eat in order to cope with hunger, which he can't and won't understand. Not real hunger, not something that is not caused by starvation, but because some small trickle of molecules in his brain is simply not enough for him to stop. These are all those who are trying to quit smoking. It's me. Or at least it was me. Was there?" She looked out the window of the diner again. Her eyes were wet. "After Donald's death, I completely lost my mind for a while. Without him in my life, the itch has become much stronger. I didn't realize how much his love and dedication helped me just to function like a normal person. Less than a month after his funeral, I was already sitting in a bar and waiting for people to start hitting on me. And every night for the next 6 months, I brought home someone new. Sometimes not even one, but never to our bed." She sobbed and wiped her eyes. "I couldn't do that. It was still our bed. Even when he was gone, I couldn't do that. I wanted to die and be with him again. In the end, a friend persuaded me to go to the doctor. More precisely, to several. Of course, to the psychotherapist, as well as to my therapist for the annual checkup. She discovered that I have prediabetes due to excess weight and lack of exercise. She prescribed a drug that had been approved by the Food and Drug Administration a few years earlier, called semaglutide. The trademark is Ozempic. Have you heard of him? Yes, is it an injection? And it causes weight loss, right? Yeah, and it's true. I got my weight back under control and out of the danger zone of diabetes." She took a sip of her coffee. "Oh, and he also cured my addiction?" "What?" "Yes. I didn't understand it at first. That is, it did not help immediately. It took several weeks, but even after the first injection, the itching became less. And after the first 2 weeks, he simply disappeared. He just disappeared. I still had needs, but I didn't feel that mindless hunger. The bottomless pit was filled. At first, I attributed it to the intervention of my friend, to the fact that he came to his senses after Donald's death, to therapy and so on. But when did I finally get a clean report from the doctor and stop giving injections? God," she sighed. "I've become as promiscuous as I've ever been before." "And what have you been doing?" "I was engaged in sales of pharmaceutical products, as I already said. I know all the tricks to get cheap medicines and easy prescriptions, so I started working on my own again as soon as I realized what had happened. And, as before, the itch is gone. After a couple of months, I started reading in magazines that semaglutide reduces the level of addictive and compulsive behavior among the test groups: drunkenness, smoking, compulsive overeating. Hell, even nail biting. Nail biting, for God's sake." Tears glisten on her cheeks. "Do you have any idea how much it hurts? My love for my husband was not enough. My love for children hardly mattered. Hell, even my sense of self-preservation didn't help a damn thing. No, I needed a weekly dose of medicine to force myself to keep my legs closed. And it was too late for that to matter. My Donald is gone, and I will never see him again. I almost threw the damn medicine away. I wanted to die. This time I really wanted to. Death by debauchery. That would be damn nice to see on the death certificate." She shook her head. "But I couldn't do that to my children. They've already lost one parent. And then my first granddaughter was born. I wasn't the kind of wife my husband deserved, and I even failed as a parent. But she was going to be the best grandmother the world had ever seen." I laughed, and so did she, but only for a moment. Then she became deadly serious. "That's my whole story. If you want, I can tell you how to cheat on your husband. It's not difficult. Any idiot can do it. It's not much harder to avoid being caught, especially if you're going to do it just once. Go somewhere, pick up someone at a bar, just not at your hotel bar, take them to a dirty hourly motel, and get laid. If you want to continue in the same spirit, find a job that requires business trips. Follow the same rules I just mentioned, but get a second phone at the same time. Make sure that it is topped up with a separate credit card that your husband will never see. Be ready to lie to his face. Always, always have a lie ready. Always use condoms. Buy a gun like I did, in case some asshole tries to rape you. Never trust anyone. Build yourself a second life that isolates you from those you love. Avoid real friendships. Never get drunk if you're not alone, because God knows what you can give away. There's a lot more, but you've already figured it out, right? I nodded, feeling a little queasy. Yes. You've changed once, you'll always change is half nonsense and half true. Which one do you think applies to you? Maybe you'll use some random stud at the bar, and it'll be a pleasant memory when you get older. Or maybe you'll only do it once. Most people who have tried banned substances several times leave without any problems. But some of them don't. Do you want to gamble to find out which one of them you are? No. I sighed. What should I do? I mean, about my friends, Stan, and everything else? She took a deep breath and exhaled slowly. I can't tell you. Obviously, something is not quite right, and you need to figure it out with him. Go to a consultation, go on a trip by whips and chains. I laughed. But whatever you do, throw those fucking friends of yours under the bus, at least for him. How much you tell him depends on you, although I think you should be completely honest, but blame it on them. I guarantee that he would rather blame it on them than believe that you came so close to it yourself. And then stay away from them. Change jobs if necessary. I nodded. Yes. You okay? You're right. Thank you. You're welcome, Aaron. And good luck. Amanda stood up, smiling, and threw a 20 on the table. Now, if you don't mind, I'm going back to the bar to fix my makeup and see if it's gotten any better since we left. It's been a few months now, and I still have needs. Grinning, she turned and walked out the door, and then waved her hand out the window as she passed by. I sat there for a while, eating cold French fries and thinking, God, how close did I come to becoming Amanda? I'm not a cheater. I love my husband. What the hell was I thinking? So I got up and almost ran to my car. I needed to go home to my husband and confess everything. My vision blurred with tears as I drove, crying for myself and for the wonderful, broken woman who saved me from myself and from the so-called friends who wanted to drag me away with them. At home, Stan got up from his chair when he saw the state I was in. God, how could I even think of hurting him? About hurting us? He hugged me and listened to me babble about what I had done, about what I had almost done, and about the elderly woman who had intervened. His face was getting more and more gloomy, but when he finally spoke, my husband's first words were, I love you. Thank you for telling me everything. I'm angry, but we'll get through this together. I sobbed in his arms as he carried me to our bed. We lay together as we had when we first fell in love, alternating gentle lovemaking with frantic, desperate approaches. I needed him. I needed him more than anything in the world, and he showed me the same passion. Never again will I let any of us forget about it. After that, when the love of my life was sleeping next to me, I lay awake for a long time. I'm not religious, but that night I had to believe that Amanda's pain had some reason. I need to thank someone for the fact that her voice in the bar saved my marriage. I silently prayed for her, thanking God for sending her to me. I asked him to keep an eye on her and her family, and in the end I begged him to have mercy on her when the time came. May we all receive favors we don't deserve. I got mine that night.